my mind is made up.
Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine.
And I'm David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes, and welcome to Three Sheets, our podcast where we chill and chat with individuals making a difference in the cruising lifestyle.
Each episode, we'll dive into all things cruising related and bring you some of the most influential characters out there. So sit back, grab your favorite bottle, light them if you got them, and enjoy the adventure. Hey guys, Eric Kyle here, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine, and now is the time. This is the place. This is incredible. We have got some very special guests today on Three Sheets, the podcast that asks us to go beyond our imagination out into the wild blue yonder. David, tell us, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, my man. I got a prop cigar in my hand. My wife would kick my nuts if I smoked it in the house, but because we got Cole and Emily Cruz from Adventure Cruise here, it's like, it just seems like we have to pull out a cigar because Cole was like, Cole gave us one in Newport at the boat show a year ago, and it was like an endearing, trait between us, right?
Friends for life. All you actually need is a couple of cigars to pass around. So Cole and Emily, super excited about having you guys here. We've known you for a few years. We've actually had you on the cover of one of our most recent issues of Latitudes and Attitudes. Look at that. That is amazing. Emily,
Wait,
great in the bathing suit. David, you look good in your two-piece.
Thanks, buddy. And listen, I want to make sure that we get this out of the way right now. Not only did we put them on the cover,
Here we go.
but we gave them not 1, not 10, not 15. How many pages did we give them, Eric, in this issue, this epic issue?
I think it was 12, right?
Oh, it was more than 12.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking to me?
I am talking to you. How many pages?
Oh,
did we give them?
Yeah. I'm still getting over this. No, it was fantastic. It was absolutely epic. Our designer loved your wedding photos.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
So she just splashed them off page after page. 16 pages inside of that issue, all dedicated to Cole and Emily. It's a fantastic issue. Absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much for participating in that and being on the cover. Absolutely epic, guys. So
Hey, I just wanted one page and I got 16. So I can't,
More than what we bargained
yeah, like it took.
if you would have given up a box of cigars, you'd probably had every page for the whole year. The fact that you only gave us 16 pages.
It took a lot to get those 16 pages, but once we finally did, we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, Sunshine. It took a lot for me to keep those 16 pages in the book because I kept getting asked every day, how many pages are you giving them? 16. How many pages again?
I had no idea. All we did was give you the story. We gave you the photos. You did the rest of it. So yeah. So no, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And it was, that cover turned out absolutely amazing. Obviously, it blew us away.
All thanks to our buddy Laurent.
I was getting ready to say that
photo.
Yeah. So Laurent, it's LC Galore on Instagram, and he's awesome photographer and has taken a lot of photos that people would recognize. Both from us as well as other cruisers as well. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. We're familiar with his work, and I think we've actually we've been in contact with him about trying to get some more of his pics in the magazine. So hopefully that'll work out.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You guys should do a whole 16 pages on him. That'd be awesome.
Did you see the latest cover?
I haven't seen that.
Wow,
but that is really cool.
So cool.
Is that is that a moon?
So
I believe it is. I think that's the moonrise because they have their anchor lights on, right?
Yeah. That is so sweet.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So if you remember at the International Cruisers Award in Annapolis this last year, this was, I think, the runner-up to the best photo of the year.
Nice.
And
that was one of the two runner-ups.
Putting that on the front cover, and I thought it looked absolutely stellar.
Yeah, that's
so
really cool. I love that.
Love it. You guys always
do the winner of the best photo of the year. Iceberg right ahead.
Yeah, that is cool.
So cool.
That was,
and then, I guess it was the third place.
That was the gentleman that submitted the winner. Then Argo was the
Very
other runner-up, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
Had you guys been at the award ceremony when I presented that award, you would have known that was.
Way to listen to the replay.
Yeah, you put some shoes on, which hey man, like good job. Like you presented yourself well.
Well, yeah.
That was, you know what? I'm still cracking up about that. For those that were not there and listening to this podcast, you know, we were in our booth at the show an hour or so before the award ceremony, and Cole and Emily came on by, and Cole was checking out my legs and in my shorts, and he's like, you're gonna wear long pants, and yeah, right.
Nice.
Like, you're gonna wear long pants and put on closed-toed shoes, aren't you, for the award ceremony? I'm like, I don't know, it's a cruiser award. Why do I need to do that? And he's like, oh man, come on, you gotta represent. I'm like, really? For real? I mean, cruisers are constantly in flip-flops. Why the hell do I have to do that? Anyways. And
you know, that is the only, we did show up. We just got there a few minutes late. We had a prior obligation, but that is the only, what I was going to say is that's the only award ceremony where you will find people in flip-flops and also find someone wearing a tuxedo. Like, it's like, it's everything in between, right? Like, so it's really funny, but you know, I just wanted you to represent yourself the best way possible. And I knew that you were going to be on stage. So I just said, hey man, like, you know,
listen, when you're me, you reach a ceiling. Okay. So the best way possible kind of comes up a bit, and it sort of lands right at flip-flops. And that's kind of it. So you were really pushing me to achieve more and be better. And I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
We could spend all podcasts catching up, guys. We love you.
Yeah.
We miss you guys. We haven't got to see you guys since Annapolis. And I would just like you guys to take an opportunity to introduce yourselves to our viewers, to our audience who's not familiar with Adventure Cruise, and maybe just give us a little bit of backstory about you're sitting right now on a beautiful catamaran with a beautiful sunset behind you. And this is the lifelong dream of many individuals on the planet. You guys are a beautiful young couple. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And how did you get to the back of that boat?
Of course. Well, we are the Adventure Cruise because we are Cole and Emily Cruz. Yes, that is our real last name. I promise. We get asked that all the time. And basically the short story is we're a couple in our early 30s who got sick of the rat race of corporate America, and we put a plan together to really escape the matrix and travel and see the world together. And so it's crazy to say that we're now starting season 3 of cruising, because it doesn't feel all that long ago. We were sitting on the other side of the TV screen on our couch saying, hey, we want to do this one day. And we really just put a plan together. I used to be a news anchor in Florida where I met Cole. He was in construction manager. And yeah, we had great careers from the outside looking in. We really had it all together. Dave Ramsey would have been really proud. But we really just weren't fulfilled. Even though we had great careers and a great life in front of us, we wanted more. And so that's really our story, is escaping the matrix and just getting more out of life than the daily grind.
Something that we haven't shared on our YouTube channel, we've told others in conversations and maybe on other podcasts and so forth, but there was really a tipping point. And I think that everyone has this tipping point at some point in their life. It's just, you know, at what point do you find it? But we had talked about this lifestyle, but we had never really put a plan in place to go chase it. And it was always that famous saying of one day I'm going to, or one day I'm going to buy the boat, or one day I'm going to do this.
But one day isn't a date on the calendar.
Yeah. One day is never a date on the calendar. Right. And so, you know, I actually have the typical COVID story, to where we both ended up getting sick. On day 7 or 8, Emily, we went through it together. Emily started getting better, and I just continued to get worse. On day 11, she ended up dropping me off at the front door of the ER.
And on the way to the hospital, he's literally telling me his death wishes. Like, I want you to do this with my sister, split this with my brother, give her this. And I didn't know if I was going to see him again. Honestly,
I was from all, health perspective, I was a healthy 31-year-old, just with a few extra pounds on me. I had never had any medical history of anything other than some broken arms playing sports or something like that, right? And so when I got into the ER, they wheeled me back. My oxygen level was just nothing. And I remember the infectious disease doctor coming in saying, "Hey, you're not our typical patient. What's going on?" And long story short, I had COVID turned into a severe pneumonia, but it was because of a sinus infection. And it just put me just down. And so I was
9 days.
Yeah, 9 days in a hospital. I was 5 liters of oxygen away from being put on a ventilator. And finally they actually started treating the sinus infection. And that's what got me better.
And as soon as he got out of the hospital, he says, "We're buying the boat." And going through all of that and says, "We're buying the boat." And it had been a conversation before, but
but it wasn't a plan.
Not a serious conversation, but that's what really spurred us to say, "Hey, we've got to do this because tomorrow isn't promised." We could plan for retirement and never make it to retirement. So that was really the defining moment where we had to do something. And then on top of that, your uncle passed away during the time that we both had COVID. Neither one of us got the funeral. I think you were actually in the hospital during the funeral. And then your mom lost one of her best friends shortly after that. So it was just a culmination of really all of that spurred us to say, okay, we've got to take action.
When was this? When was this?
All during COVID.
2021.
Yeah, 2021. And so I got out of the hospital, and guys, I couldn't walk. Like I was, it was like I was so weak, it was unbelievable.
Like he would stand for 30 seconds and then need to sit down.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It was really bad. So I finally got back to work, like a month later after getting out of the hospital.
Horrible employee.
And after that, I was the worst employee. Like I should have been fired 100 times over, because all I could think about was buying this boat and setting sail. And we put this plan into place. And we mentioned that my mom's friend, at like 53 years old, found out that just wasn't feeling good, found out she had cancer. 3 months later, she was dead. And so the combination of all of that, we had the plan in place after my COVID experience. Then my mom's friend passed away. We go to that funeral. We walk out of that funeral and we're like, all right, that just sealed the deal. Like we're doing this no matter what. I don't care what it takes. And so about a year thereafter is when 2022 is when we bought the boat.
That was a big year. So we got married in February, sold your house in May.
Yep.
Then at the end of May, we bought the boat and we sailed 1,000 nautical miles from Galveston, Texas to Sarasota, Florida. Had no idea how to sail. We hired a captain to help us deliver the boat because we wouldn't have known what to do.
Yeah.
And looking back now, I'm like, I don't know if I would do that again, but I never thought about it twice in the moment. And I think that this is a whole other topic, but that just goes to say the trust that I have in Cole. He's like, okay, this is what we got to do to get our boat home. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for the ride. But looking back on it now, it just seems so ridiculous that we would do that.
Yeah, truth be told, the only reason I was wanting to get the boat back so fast is because insurance said that I was going to have to pay a $1,500 rider to keep it in Texas because hurricane season was getting ready to start.
And we literally arrived back in Sarasota day one of hurricane season in 2022. So that was crazy.
Well, what kind of background and sailing experience did you guys have? Because you said you had a plan in place. I'm assuming that the plan involved a sailboat. So you must have some sailing experience or desire to be sailors in order to go off and do the dream.
So that's what's funny about it is I grew up boating all my life in the state of Florida, but always on power boats. I had never owned a catamaran. I've never had gone sailing to other than like maybe a Hobie Cat on at a beach resort somewhere, or like we'd gone out with a friend of ours that we had in Sarasota like 2 or 3 times who had a catamaran, but it was more of just like a booze cruise, if you will, in the sense of just going and hanging out.
Put your feet up.
Put your feet up. It was never like, hey, like really teach me the what sailing's about.
The plan we had in place was more of a financial plan. It was like, okay, we need to save this amount of money. We need to do this so we can buy this at this date. And we physically put a date on the calendar. We're going to leave the dock at
November
this date,
1st,
and it was going to be November 1 of 2022. We were a little bit late. I think we left like the 16th or 17th. But there was no like sailing plan because we didn't know how to sail. And funny enough, people ask us all the time now, like, what do you need to know before buying a boat? And we always say, go sail the boat that you want to buy before you buy it. Because it was never a thought in our mind, like, how does our boat sail? Like, literally never entered our brain tissue. Thankfully, this boat sails really well.
For a catamaran, yeah. I mean, it does.
But we didn't know that before. It wasn't until we were, 500 miles into the Gulf of Mexico where we're like, oh, okay.
Emily asked me, she goes, what do you know about sailing? When I first told her that, let's go buy a sailboat. And I said, I don't, but if you buy a catamaran, it's got 2 diesel engines. How hard could it be to figure it out? Like, that was literally my statement. Like, and we laugh about it to this day, Because
that's kind of still like our mantra is how hard can it be? We'll just figure it out.
Well, let me be very blunt with this point right now, because there's a lot of people out there that read Latitudes and Attitudes magazine or even watch our podcast that are novices. They're day sailors. They're doing the booze cruises. They're jumping on the Hobie Cats. Maybe they've done a couple of charters down in the Caribbean. Would you recommend your experience? Do you think it's okay with your experience not having, been sailing for years and years and coming from a life of sailing to make that transition to the lifestyle of sailing like you guys did? Is it okay to do that, or do you need to have more experience?
I think I want to answer that.
Go ahead.
About you. So I think it depends. Like, that's totally person by person. Cole is the type of person that if he wants to go do something, he's going to figure it out. And even though
baptism by fire.
Yeah, baptism by fire, but I feel like it always works out. Like, there's a level of like aptitude that he has to figure things out. And I think that's truly a gift that you have, and not everyone has that. So by no means like take this as advice to go, throw caution to the wind, buy a boat and sail away. I think it truly depends on the person, considering you had grown up boating your whole life. At the end of the day, like, hey, this boat has 2 engines. Like, even if we roll without the sails up, which we did a few times because we were scared to put the sails up because we didn't know what we were doing. I think it depends on the person, and I would never say like with no experience, hey, go do this, because I think that would be bad advice. I just think you have to judge your own level of confidence and general boating knowledge before you go do something like that.
Yeah, I think that the ASA courses are phenomenal. I also think that it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to buy the boat and be full-time on the boat, then I think that there's no better way to learn than to just do it. But if you're looking to, either be a part-time owner, a partner in a boat, or maybe even just go on charters, then obviously the ASA course is a way that you need to go and should go to get those certifications. So I think it really just depends on the person, more to Emily's point of how they are wanting to live this lifestyle and or get into it.
Yeah.
Well, what makes me curious, and I know, David, you got a couple questions too, but I'm just that transition that a lot of people go from being aspiring cruisers to actual cruisers. What kind of boat are you in? You're in a beautiful location right now. Is this the same boat that you started in? What have you done over the last couple of years since November 16th, 2022, which is what, almost 2 years, a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
Yeah, so we actually, Emily and I together have over, I want to say 14,000 nautical miles underneath our belt. at this point, and that's in 2.5 years, or a little less than 2.5 years. We have about 10,000 on this boat itself, our boat, which is a 2016 Leopard 44. The first 1,000 was the day that we closed on the boat, and that started in Galveston, Texas. We made it halfway to Tampa, and we lost a prop. It spun off some way, somehow, not sure how, but we lost a prop.
So that added a few hundred miles.
And we actually had to we were motoring because the wind was right in our nose. We ended up having to pull sail and actually go with the wind back up to the panhandle of Florida, which then ended up taking about 2 or 3 days extra in that trip. But that was the first 1,000 miles. Then we did west coast of Florida all the way around to the Bahamas, did almost every island in the Bahamas. We've got, I think, 2 or 3 left to check off. And then we went all the way up to Nantucket and Boston, did the whole eastern seaboard, which is where we got to see you guys in Newport last year. Then came down to Annapolis, did the Chesapeake, and now this past season we came all the way down to Grenada. We're currently sitting in St. Lucia as we are starting to make our way back north towards the Bahamas. So
yes, we will cross off the rest of those islands because we love the Bahamas. It's our very favorite, and we cannot wait to go back.
So, and in the meantime, we've also worked with Leopard Catamarans. They're a sponsor of our channel and huge supporter of us. And we've worked with them where we've actually delivered 2 years in a row now a showboat to the Annapolis Sailboat Show from Fort Lauderdale. So each of those trips was about 900 to 1,000 miles each way. So in all, we've, like I said, we're about 14,000 nautical miles in just over 2 years, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah,
to
we've
speak
seen
of.
a lot.
Well, I'm going to jump in here real quick because let's go back to something you said earlier when you were talking about COVID, and it's like you're never really ready to make that leap and so forth and so on. There's so many people I know that say, well, I'll get married in so many years, I'll have kids in so many years. I mean, you're never really ready for it. You just have to take that leap and go ahead and do it. So I remember meeting you guys at the awards ceremony, the International Cruise Awards ceremony in 2022.
Yep.
Okay. So, and that was where I met you guys, and you guys were basically full of energy and all excited to get out there. And we're going to head out pretty soon. And while you guys were yakking, I found this email from Emily on October 24th of 2022, in which she says, it was great meeting you. We chatted about blah, 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 post, and, hey, we're getting ready to take off. And then, like a dumbass, it wasn't until the following Newport show when you're like, hey, remember us? I sent you something about an article. You never responded to me. So we talked about it. Then you ended up getting 16 pages in our magazine because I felt bad about what I did. But I guess
live that down, and we didn't even do it.
Oh, it's so much fun. What I want to get into a little bit, because you mentioned Grenada, so I want to talk about that a little bit down the road here. But I mean, Emily, you come from a broadcasting background, right? So working with film and being on camera and stuff is not an issue for you. Cole, you're a very sexy man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, personally, I think you make Emily look better, but that's just me. When did you guys, like, you're in Annapolis, you're at the Cruises Awards, we're getting ready to take off. When did you decide that we're going to start a YouTube channel? And I mean, is that, you don't have to give me all the specifics, but we have some people that are using their YouTube channels or whatever to help fund, their sponsorships and whatever to help fund, their lifestyle.
Correct.
Is that what you're doing? Is it your ultimate goal? Are you there yet? Or are you still working day jobs?
YouTube was always the plan. From the time that Cole started showing me YouTube channels, when he said, hey, have you ever thought about sailing? Because it actually all started with an RV. We were 1 month into dating, and within 1 month, I was telling him, hey, I want to take time off TV. I'm always contract based. I want to buy an RV and travel to 50 states. And he's like, oh yeah, that's cool. But have you ever thought about sailing? And so to, give credence to what he's saying, he's like, oh, well, look at all these other people who are already doing it. And of course, pulls up the sailing channels. And immediately I was like, well, I've been telling other people's story for a decade. Like, I could do this. And so YouTube was always the plan. And now, 2 years into this, it still very much is the plan. Like, I can't imagine doing what we're doing and not doing YouTube and not sharing it with the world. That just seems like it would be so wrong. And the great thing about having the YouTube channel too is that it pushes us out of our comfort zone and out of our boundaries to where we may go somewhere and, oh, just go to the beach and then leave. But when we try to do like different topics, so one of the videos that we have coming up is asking strangers to plan our day, and it was in Grenada. So we literally had to talk to strangers for them to tell us where to go next. And we had a little bit of a side mission, like we wanted to go to a tourist spot, we wanted to go to a local spot. And so that's getting us out and interacting. Whereas if we didn't have this YouTube channel, we might have just, I don't know, sat on our boat and missed that opportunity. So I love YouTube. I see it as a very viable option and viable career. We are still very much though in the grind phase. We're making money. But this lifestyle is very expensive. So
yeah, and with YouTube, and speaking of YouTube, like we look at this as our career, but at the same time, we have built out about 5 revenue streams based off of YouTube and our following. One of those is our group sailing events and travel events that we put on. But then we also have an Airbnb property in Florida as well. So all together, we have 6 different revenue streams that we've built out, and combined, they all very much depend on YouTube, except for the Airbnb. But at the same time, like they are allowing us to live this lifestyle and continue to travel.
yeah.
You guys have amassed a really good following relatively quick. I mean, when I met you in Annapolis in 2022, I think you were just getting started. And then I saw you in
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I see you in
I think for
Newport.
like 3,000 or something.
Yeah, then I see you in Newport the following September, and I mean, they had let's be honest, they had a modest collection of channels that were in the Newport show. It wasn't anything like Annapolis has, right? And I mean, you guys were real excited and real thrilled with what you're doing, and I mean, real enthusiastic about it. And now I look at your YouTube channel, you got over 57,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have done something right with this.
And you know what's so funny is that we look at that and we're like, man, we're not growing fast enough. But it's just a labor of love, honestly. I mean, Emily is working, editing a video today. I was replying back to emails and comments, and trying to figure out what video we're going to shoot next. There is a science to YouTube, and we are realizing that our first year, we kind of just like
threw spaghetti at the wall
to see what would stick, right?
What sticks?
And we were grinding day in and day out, hoping to get 1,000 views on a video. And so that was tough.
Yeah.
It wasn't till last year that we really said, okay, like we're starting to see,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, we're starting to see some fruit.
I would never recommend anyone quit their job, go buy a boat, and start a YouTube channel. I would maybe recommend that in a different order. How about you have your stable job, start your YouTube channel as a side hustle, get it going, and then once your YouTube channel income is replacing what you're making at your main job, and you have a savings, then go buy your boat and do that. So if we could do it again in hindsight, man, I wish we would have focused a little bit harder when we still had our professional careers, but
just be weekend warriors.
Yeah, I was working the early morning shift. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was at work at 4 o'clock and on TV by 5 and off at noon, and then trying to like date and have a social life. Like I was totally tapped out. But in hindsight, if I could do it again, I definitely would have started it sooner. But yeah, 2 years in, I love YouTube, and that's not going anywhere.
So you guys wanted to unplug. The point and purpose of what you wanted to do was to get out of the matrix, as you said, Emily. And this is the reason that you guys wanted to do this, and you're finding ways to fund your lifestyle through using YouTube and having the Airbnb. So the point and purpose so far for you guys is to be able to explore, have an adventure. Maybe that's why it's called Adventure Cruise. I mean,
That's right.
Yeah.
Is there a time limit on this? What do you hope to accomplish? Where do you see the end? What do you want to do?
My goal is to never work for anyone else ever again. And whatever we do, we bring each other with us. We've learned that we love entrepreneurship. We love being in business together. The fact that we get to wake up each day and go down the same path, going the same direction. You know, a lot of husband and wives, they wake up in the morning, one goes to the left, one goes to the right. You know, meet up in the afternoon in between dinner and kids and other activities, but we actually get to go down the same path together and get to spend the days together with the most important relationship we'll ever have on earth. I think that is so cool, and I hope that never ends.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, we're sitting here talking about YouTube a little bit, and I mean, our podcast is available, you know, for download anywhere you get your podcast. But in this particular podcast, I really hope people pull up our YouTube channel and watch it, because I'm sitting there having you guys are talking, and I'm watching the sunset in the background.
Yeah.
Is absolutely phenomenal. We couldn't have picked a better spot for this. Let's bounce back to something else here. So you mentioned earlier hurricane season. You mentioned a few other things. You said you were down in Grenada. We all know what happened with the hurricane that came across Grenada. And out of that rose Rise Grenada, right?
Yep.
I want to get into that a little bit, because I remember when you sort of contacted us a little bit about that and trying to put it out, just getting the word out. I mean, you guys have a great social conscience, which is amazing. Tell us about where that whole thing came from for you.
Yeah, so Rise Grenada was it really just started the morning after Hurricane Beryl. We rode out Hurricane Beryl on our catamaran in the mangroves in Grenada, and we got very, very lucky. I mean, had that hurricane wobbled, 10, 15 miles to the south, we might not have the boat that we're sitting on today.
And this is the second hurricane we've been through in the last 2 years.
Yeah, we also dodged, like, literally 2 months after buying the boat, we also dodged Hurricane Ian that ended up hitting Fort Myers. And for 48 hours prior to hitting Fort Myers, it had a bullseye on Bradenton, Florida, which is where we had the boat docked. So it turned in the last, like, I don't know, 12 hours before hitting land into Fort Myers, just south of us, about an hour. So we dodged 2 hurricanes. We woke up the morning after Beryl, and Emily looked at me and she's like, "What can we do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "What can we do to help?"
I just want to interject really quick and say that our faith is super important to us. And we've always said, like, if there's a way we can help along our travels, like, we want to be a light. That's a prayer that we always have, is to try to just be a light in the world. And we've never sought out mission work, but we've always said if something presented itself, like, we want to jump in and try to help. And at the time, our still small platform was even smaller. And we said, what can we do to make a difference with the small platform that we had? And I think it was pretty immediate where you were like, oh, we could have a live stream, because we actually did live stream during the hurricane on our channel, having no idea like how it would do. We just thought, okay, we're going through this, like, let's share that with people. People are concerned. People are also worried about boats that they've left behind, like, what's going on. And that went really well. And so we said we could have a live stream and set it up like the old Children's Miracle Network, like, call-in center that they used to have, where you talk to a celebrity or whatever that setup was. And he's like, we'll partner with other sailing channels, and we'll all raise money together to help the locals. And I was like, oh yeah, nobody's going to sign up for that. Like, there's no chance people are going to come on our live stream. Yeah. And so you called Spirit Animal, Rap and Sosh, and they didn't tell us we were crazy. So I guess that was the green light for you to be like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and so about a month prior, YouTube had announced a collaboration feature for lives. And that collaboration feature, I remembered in my mind that was out there. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll just do a collaboration feature with everybody. Well, come to find out, the collaboration feature doesn't work like that. It's literally like a FaceTime, and you have to use your cell phone for it to work. So that down that rabbit hole. And it didn't work out. And we found that out like a couple days before we end up having this 12-hour live stream with 20 of the top YouTube channels around the world, right?
Yeah. But in talking to Raf and Sosh, they were like, oh, Spice Island is also wanting to start a GoFundMe. So our whole thing was like, we really don't want to be in control of all of this money and have that burden of responsibility. Spice Island is a local business that has been around for 40 years. They have the contacts and the resources to be able to get products in. So we started having conversations with them. And then very quickly, Rise Grenada became a conglomerate of Spice Island volunteers. Their marketing person, Matt, who jumped in and said, let me create the branding for this. So it's more than a GoFundMe page. And that was all pro bono, free work. And yeah, the next thing we knew, all these people were signed up to do this live stream that we were going to put on and raise money for the locals. And specifically, we wanted to give back to local businesses because we weren't in the position to go sail our boat up to Grenada and hand out emergency relief efforts. At the time, our boat was actually broken. We had our sail drives rebuilt over the summer. So we were getting ready to haul out, but we wanted to say, hey, what can we raise money and actually do in the time frame and the resources that we can do it in? So we really wanted to help businesses.
And so Carriacou, the island that got hit the hardest, their main thing is tourism, specifically from cruisers. So being that all of these restaurants, bars, the chandlery, like all these, businesses got wiped out by this hurricane, what could we do to help get them up and running before the cruising season starts back November 1, right? So that was the mission, right? So we got all these YouTubers together. We got you guys with Latitudes and Attitudes, as well as about 10 other corporate sponsors to join in. And we set up this 12-hour live stream that was amazing. Like, it was so much fun. It was so cool to get. And we started with people in Europe, with like trying to think of who we started with, but
the Evans were one of the first,
Evans, Expedition Evans started us off, and we went for 12 hours and ended up going all the way around the world with all these different YouTube channels, depending on where they were and what time zone they were in.
Yeah.
And we closed off with Le Vagabond in Bali.
Yeah.
So we went from Europe to the US, all the way around to the Pacific Islands with Parlay Revival and that crew, and then ended up all the way back in Bali with Le Vagabond. And what's so funny is that Emily and Elena were texting when we were starting.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
we were starting the podcast or the live stream, and it was morning for us. We were getting ready to start. And she's saying, we're off to bed. I'll talk to you tomorrow. So like, it was so funny that the entire time, like, it's just, you just don't think about things like that sometimes, but
it was really cool. And in total, I think the total was like $130,000. And so we obviously went back to Florida over the summer because that was the plans that we prior had, but we were just in Carriacou last week filming the update video for that. And
you guys are getting a little
before the
video comes out time here.
So we went to Ansel Roach. Rise Grenada was able to help Tim rebuild his bar there, and he just put out a feast, and it was really amazing and beautiful just to see the works of everyone. Because if this was just a project with Cole and Emily, it would have never worked. The whole reason it worked is because everybody came together and said, hey, let's do this, let's do something about this, and all the donations that came in.
We had so many people on social media. Like, one of the cool things was that we were able to go with Spice Island Marine, Dane, the owner, like 2 days after the storm, we were able to go up there, and I was able to get drone footage, and we uploaded all that drone footage to a Google Drive and just sent it out to everyone. Like, I was like, hey, use it how you please. I don't like, this is just use it. And people were putting together reels and social posts and all kinds of stuff that was just amazing.
It's just crazy, the power of social media, right? Like, you seek out to do something, and then all these people come together for one common goal. I will say, and I don't want to stay on this topic for too long, but we did catch some major heat because we weren't going and getting boats out of the mangroves and not rebuilding roofs and houses. And what we came really to the conclusion with Spice Island was that we weren't set up to do emergency work. I just wanted to do something out of the goodness of my heart to try to make ourselves sleep a little better at night, because now we've skated 2 hurricanes in the last 2 years. I was not set up in a position to be able to go rebuild houses, nor did I have the contacts and the resources to be able to do that. So not everybody was on board with the mission of Rise Grenada and really helping businesses. And you know what? That's okay, because we felt like at the end of the day, a diluted mission equals diluted results. And if we said, hey, we're going to go rebuild everybody's houses, $130,000 isn't going to do that. But what we were able to do with Rise Grenada is we were able to rebuild Tim's place at Anse La Roche. We were able to help Allison at Paradise Beach Club with some of the supplies there to get
the coolest story
I want to tell. Open and going again, which, by the way, her place is now up. All the cruiser signs are up. It's absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to share that footage with people and just hear her, because she was so excited to be back in business. What are you going to say?
One of the cool stories is we actually, so when Spirit Animal left St. Martin to go to Grenada after the storm, they loaded their boat up with like $5,000 or $6,000 worth of tools from Home Depot in St. Martin. So, or maybe it was even USVI's is where they were, somewhere, wherever Home Depot was, right? So they loaded up with like $5,000 or $6,000 worth of material and tools, and they go down there and they get there, and the project that they were hoping to work on wasn't, like, the material hadn't arrived and they weren't able to do anything, or they were only able to do a little. So they're walking down the street and they meet this guy, Silco, and he's like pulling old nails out of the boards that are scattered across his yard, trying to straighten them up with a hammer so that he can reuse them to put his roof back together. And so they literally grab all of these tools. He's got a compressor, he's got generator, he's got nail guns, he's got nails, and they just go and start helping this guy rebuild his house, right? So come to find out, this guy is a local boat builder. And so we were able to, or I should say, Rise Grenada and Spirit Animal were able to not only help him build back his house, and we were able to help him with some of the material to build back his house, but we also were able to put him back to work, because one of the fishermen, the local fisherman, lost his boat completely to the storm. So he is now building this fisherman's boat. The fisherman provides the fish to the island and sells it at the local fish market, right? So like there's this massive like circle of economic development, if you will, where we were able to get this guy's roof back on his house.
The boat's not built yet, though.
The boat is in progress.
Yeah.
But like now he is getting funded to build this guy's boat. And like now this guy, the fisherman's going to now go and fish and come back and, you know, supply the island with fish, right? Like, and the restaurants with fish. So like it's just such a cool like circle of how this little bit of money was able to make a big impact in the local community. And so we're super excited to be able to share all of those details further in an upcoming video of ours. But I think more importantly, and I'll stop with this, but what it proved to us was that with making a couple of phone calls and rallying the troops, this community is so strong. Yeah. And like we hear about the cruiser community with like Sea People and Young Cruisers Association, and you go to Annapolis and you hear about this, and you hear people tell you before you even get into this lifestyle living on a boat that, oh, when you get to an anchorage, you know, just go ask the guy next to you. He can probably help fix whatever problem you have because he's already seen it himself. And that is so true. Like, I don't care where you are. Like, we literally were today walking to go find a filter, an air filter for our generator. And we start walking down the street, and this guy goes, hey, do you know where the Volvo dealer is? Well, it just so happened that was the Volvo and Northern Lights dealer that we were going to. And so I'm like, yeah, we're going there ourselves. Let's go.
We just struck up a conversation. It was a grand old time.
And like, I don't know this guy from Adam, right? But he is a cruiser, and he was like he was looking for the same problem, to solve the same problem that we were looking to. And next thing you know, we're in deep conversations about this guy's kids. You know, they're back in England. Like, you just don't have that community anywhere else in the world, from what I've been able to see, to where you get to know somebody like that. And that's what's really cool. And that's what Rise Grenada really is a product of.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Amen. Can't put it any better than that. I mean, that was a huge focus of why we did this, why we took this magazine over from Bob, why we've made some of the changes that we've made, why we've expanded it from 4 issues to 6 issues.
Yep.
It's the unity in community, period. You know,
Yeah.
nowhere else can you go in any other industry and find the same kind of community among the people that take part in that industry. And it's not just the people that supply parts and make boats and stuff like that. It's the people that are using them, you know, to make a difference. I mean, we truly believe that cruisers can change the world, and you guys are a great example of it. Amen to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
and listen, you're never gonna please everyone. We realize that. Like, I can't tell you how like disheartening it was to literally get cussed for trying to do good at one point in time. And
that's okay.
And that's okay. You know, like, hey, it's all right. Next time they can wake up and do what they want to do, maybe, being that they saw what we were able to do, right?
There's a famous person out there that has a quote that I've always enjoyed. He said, I don't know the secret to success, but the secret to failure is trying to please everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby, circa 1982.
There you go. Yep.
That's good.
Regardless, thank you guys. Just a glimpse into the adventure cruise. We want to learn more. We want to spend more time with you guys. We want to dedicate another 16 pages in the next issue. So tell us just a little bit more about how we can continue to follow you guys, what your channel is, how we can help support some of the adventures that you're on.
Of course. Oh, you're looking at me.
Go ahead.
All right. So our channel is The Adventure Cruise. You can find us on YouTube as The Adventure Cruise, all social media, and theadventurecruise.com. The best way you can support us is coming and adventuring with us. There's a lot of people out there who look to experience what this lifestyle is like. And for a week, we get to take people on a true adventure of what this lifestyle is like. And I think it's just as rewarding for us as it is for them, because seeing people who've never been out on the water before, or who've never been snorkeling or diving, get to experience that for the first time. It's such a beautiful thing, and we're just so excited that we're able to do that.
So what Emily's talking about is Cruise with a Cruise, which is our group sailing event that we do twice a year. So, but also to piggyback on that, it is Cruise with CREWS,
like a boat crew with an S.
Yes. So a lot of people start CRUZ or spell it like a cruise ship, and it's CREWS.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, again, guys, thanks so much. Now that we have the official commandant on the podcast with us, Eddie is here. Let's hear a few words from Eddie before we wrap this up.
Eddie is the official editor of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. And he was in charge of approving the 16 pages. So
nice.
You know,
nice.
You're gonna, if you want 16 more pages, you're gonna have to put him by this fluffy character.
Given some treats.
That's great.
Yeah, he typically just likes a good scratch and maybe a belly rub, kind of like Eric.
Certainly cute.
What a cute
lower ear right there. So guys, enjoy the Bahamas. We miss you. We love you. Enjoy your holidays that are just about upon us here next week. We look forward to the next time that we can connect. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. Being here with us today meant a whole lot to us.
Of course.
Same.
We
Thank
love
you
you guys.
for the
We think a lot of you guys.
We absolutely love you guys. It was such, I mean, this is a podcast, and it's taken a while for us to figure it out. It took a while for Cole to figure out what time zone he's in, but we finally.
You know, the countries down here don't recognize daylight saving time. So we were an hour past Eastern, or no, we were on like Eastern time all year long. And now we're an hour after Eastern.
Yeah.
We are so confused.
It's island time, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we don't do well with island time.
My mind is made up. I'm gonna sail away. Latitudes and attitudes will help me find my way with my loving cup.